Guys, my schedule has just been so busy this summer. I'm off on my time and my time zones. So just thought tonight would be a better way than not to just start off and do an insight. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about discipline. When we think about the word discipline, we think about some people think discipline's bad. You know, we discipline our children and we discipline, we're being disciplined by our teachers, by our parents, etc. But discipline really can be very beneficial to us. I mean, in the spiritual aspect, they actually talk about the disciplines, that it's our discipline that we're putting into practice. I am disciplining myself to reach nirvana. The Buddhists, they discipline for nirvana. The Catholics, they discipline themselves to reach heaven. I mean, there's always an end game in mind when it comes to the spiritual aspect of discipline. So discipline, Webster actually defines discipline as punishment. It could be punishment. You know, you're being disciplined when you go to jail. That's your punishment. So we have discipline as punishment. It can also be an instruction. I'm following the discipline of the certain things that are given to. It could be a field of study. What are some of these other words? It says training that corrects or molds or perfects ourselves. So we're doing a training like we're in a discipline to maybe lose weight. A diet is a discipline. Working out is a discipline. Playing an instrument is a discipline. So a discipline can be a path leading us towards our goal. We look at that. When I think about discipline, let's go back to the discipline of our children. If I'm disciplining my children too much, I'm strict, and the reaction, or it's not going to get the reaction that I want. I'm going to get the rebellion. When you're too strict of a parent, your children will most likely rebel. You become a dictator, which is what you don't want to do. On the other side, if I don't discipline enough at all, my children have no guidelines. They don't know what's right or wrong. There's no consequences. They don't understand the concept of consequences. And I'm not providing a path for them to be able to have their own sense of discipline. Now, when I think about discipline, I also think the idea that when somebody gives us discipline, we rebel. Don't tell me what to do. Oh, blah, blah. You know, the doctor tells you, oh, blah, blah. But when I come up with my own path for myself, and even if it's the same thing that somebody tells me what to do, I don't rebel. You know, somebody might come in. Those of you know, I struggle with water. I can eat healthy, but the water thing is just the taste. It's just me. It's my own struggle. So my husband can walk in here and say, "Did you drink your water today?" And I'd be like, "Thank you." But if I say, "Oh, I forgot to drink my water. Did I drink my water?" I don't have an issue with that. It's funny how we don't rebel against our own self-discipline, but when somebody tells us what to do, even though it's the same thing, we rebel. That's why it's essential that we start developing our own sense of self-discipline. So when I think about discipline, we also have to think that there is a balance required. Too much is going to be injurious, too little is going to be injurious. The same thing when it comes to self-discipline. Too much self-discipline, I'm going to injure myself where I have no sense of flexibility. I become robotic or even predictable and less risk taking, and probably not very nice to be around because, you know, maybe I might even take it all the way to OCD. And not enough discipline, obviously I'm not going to accomplish anything because I don't have any discipline. Discipline directly correlates to drive and willpower. The more I discipline myself, the greater my willpower. My willpower, which is my inner strength. And here's the weird thing. The more I discipline myself, the greater my willpower. The greater my willpower, the greater my discipline. Like they go hand in hand, but it starts with setting out the discipline. So the discipline's the framework. So when I have self-discipline, it's my framework to get me to my end goal, which is supported by willpower. Now we can have discipline on many different levels. We can have our physical discipline, which I've mentioned already. So a diet is a physical discipline where I choose what to eat and what not to eat, when to eat and when not to eat. All of that is physical. I choose to have an exercise routine, how long I'm going to be on the bike, how long will I take a walk, how many times a week am I going to be on the elliptical. All of that is discipline. So I'm setting up a structure. So that's physical. like a physical. We could also have the discipline of sleep. Many of us struggle with the idea of sleeping 8 hours a night. That doesn't happen. I'm five, maybe 5 hours is about what I do. I'd love to do more. My body just doesn't do it. So there's like, I have to get myself into the wind down stage. And I've discovered that even if I'm not sleeping, as long as if I'm laying down and resting my body, that works for me. So that's a discipline. We figure it out as we go. Then there's emotional discipline, which the popular terminology is EQ, emotional intelligence. EQ, the same formula. I know what to say and what not to say, when to speak and when not to speak. All of that is emotional intelligence. That's discipline. And you know, when somebody says to you, don't say that, well, don't say, what do you mean don't say that to me? But I could even say, oh, I shouldn't say that, and I'm not going to react. That comes from self discipline. That's the idea. We want to have discipline ourselves and we're not going to be reactive. And of course, emotional intelligence would be when somebody tells me not to say something, I don't react. I just smile and say, thank you. We live in a society today where everybody's giving feedback. Everybody gives us feedback. Here's what you need to do. And they start telling you what to do in your life. They're so busy fixing each other's lives, they don't worry about their own. There's something, I don't know, gratification about being able to fix somebody else's life, like satisfaction. And yet I'm the one who's still struggling. I'm not going to say that to everybody, but we do have a society that loves to give feedback constantly. Just give feedback, tell someone, you know, it's connected to our self-worth and our value. And if we understand that, then we don't need to react to it. We could just recognize, oh, this person is looking for validation. Okay, thank you. And that's it. We don't have to get into the conflict. All right, enough said about that. Mental discipline. Mental discipline is awesome. Mental discipline, that's what meditation is, to discipline my mind. So the idea is I can control my thinking. Mental discipline is the same thing. If I'm reading a book, I'm reading my book, I have to have mental discipline to stay onto task. You see the monitors behind me. Obviously, I work from home. So working remotely requires discipline to not be distracted by my dog or my husband or the children who are in and out of the house or my neighbors or the people who are walking down to the park. It requires discipline to be able. Now, does it mean I'm never distracted? Of course I am, but I have to reel myself back in. I can recognize, oh, that's what's happening, and bring myself back in. That's the same thing with meditation. When you're meditating and you all of a sudden realize your mind is going off, oh, recognize without judgment, oh, no, I don't need to do that, and then bring yourself back to what we are going to do. So those are three levels of discipline: physical, emotional, mental. Now, when it comes to spiritual discipline, you know, that's something probably greater than what I'm capable of speaking to you about. But the idea of is like the Buddhists, they call it a discipline. Their discipline is to meditate, to chant, to do their mantras, to focus and strive towards nirvana. The Catholicism, their focus is to get to heaven. So their discipline are the 12. I was going to say the agreements. That's not it. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember the Moses with the commandments. The commandments. I don't think it's 12, but the 10 commandments. It's the 10 commandments. I hope you're laughing with me. So those are discipline right there. Hebrew, the Hebrews, in the Hebrew language, in the Hebrew culture, there's discipline of things that we have to do. Every culture you go to, every discipline, every dogma, every religion has a list of disciplines. I said every discipline. Every religion, every culture has a series of disciplines that we adhere to help us become better individuals. That's one of the foundations of Omega. We strive for self-awareness. That's our goal, is self-awareness, to be aware. That requires discipline, to be aware of when I'm reacting, when I'm not reacting, to choose love over anger, to choose acceptance over rejection, to choose silence over overbearing talking. So all of that is discipline. And it's connected to our mind. It goes through our mind. If I can control my mind, I can get to my higher way of being. So the more I discipline the lower aspects of me, my physical, emotional, mental, the greater the chance I have to discipline the higher aspects of me, which I'm just going to call my spiritual aspect. It starts low. We start at the bottom and work our way up. it happens everywhere. Start at the bottom and work our ways up. Therefore, if you're desiring self-discipline, if you're desiring to have succession or succeed in your life, it starts with self-discipline, not someone else telling you what to do. Although I'm not putting that, having coaches and trainers to help along the way is absolutely perfect. You want to go to the gym and get a trainer to help you work out? Absolutely perfect to give you guidelines. But remember, you're the one who's setting it up. It all comes from within. So our self-discipline can help propel us towards a spiritual discipline, which leads us towards a more peaceful, calmer, compassionate life, which I think many of us are striving for. At least I am. So thank you for joining me this evening. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on August 7th, excuse me. August 7th will be our next insight. As you notice, the little ticker down below, open registration is now open for the August Omega 1, which is the 11th through the 13th. So tell your family and friends. We're excited about our next Omega 1. Had a great Omega 1 last month. It's been a while. Thank you again for joining me. Look forward to seeing you next Friday, where I'm going to talk about our book, which is How to Practice the Ways to a Meaningful Life. So thank you again. I will see you on the other side of Zoom. Bye now.